Penelope Jott has always wanted to travel, so when she comes across a magical necklace that can whisk her away on a whim, she fully takes advantage of it. This paper crafting kit is volume 1 of Penelope's travels and documents some of her favorite shops. Together, we will print, cut, and assemble 6 projects, 5 featuring a different stop in her journey, and a box to store them all. If you're new to printable craft kits, you can craft part 1, the box, with me for free when you join the email list. You'll find links to sign up for the free sample and to purchase the full kit in the description down below. This kit is beginner friendly, and I'm with you every step of the way with full video instructions. I also treat each part of this project as a separate crafting session, so you can use the timestamps on this video to find exactly what you want to work on when you're ready to work on it. So let's go over the supplies that you're going to need to craft these projects. For paper, I use 110-pound 199 GSM cardstock. I also use 32-pound 120 GSM paper. This is a little thicker than your regular copy paper and it holds up better for crafting as well as future handling of our finished crafts. You're going to need a pair of scissors to cut everything out, a liquid glue with a fine point, and an optional glue stick. I like Beacon Fabri-Tac for my glue and Oohoo for my glue stick. You're going to exclusively see me use this liquid glue throughout the video. It's just faster for me to use and it doesn't make as much of a mess on my surface, but I highly recommend a glue stick to make some things faster. You'll also need a bone folder for firming up your creases. You can use your thumbnail or the back of your scissors if you like. I also recommend a scoreboard. This is going to make all of your creases go a lot faster and be a lot straighter. You don't have to have this, but it will make everything a little quicker. And as a bonus, they come with a bone folder. In these projects, I do use Velcro dots as a closure on 2 of the projects, the apothecary shop and the bookstore. So I recommend having these or magnets or coming up with another closure method for those projects if you need to. I also use 6 more to attach the buttons for the seamstress's shop, but these are totally optional. I also use a few sequin inside of my seed packets just to kind of make that shaker seed sound. These are totally optional. You can use pieces of plastic you've punched out with a hole punch, anything that's kind of plasticky and relatively flat that's going to make that shaker noise for you. Finally, I am also using vintage photo distress ink on the edges of everything. Adding this to the edges of your pieces makes everything more finished and makes our layered elements look more dimensional. You can totally skip this step, but I'll be using this throughout all of these projects. Printing these files is pretty straightforward. Every page comes with instructions at the top. It has the paper type, so this one you can use cardstock or paper, your choice. I've printed mine on paper. This one here, you can see it says just cardstock on it. It also tells you what project or part this is for. So this page says part 2 apothecary, this one says part 3 florist. It will also tell you if something needs printed on the reverse side. Most pages don't have a backer paper. These 2 do. One is mandatory, print backer 1 on reverse. And you can see I have done that here. And then this one is optional to print backer 2 on reverse. I have not done that on this one because I'm going to seal these packets shut. Don't worry because I go over all of this information at the beginning of every single project, and I'll be sure to go over what ones you have to print on the back and what ones are optional and why. I do recommend watching the introduction for each part before printing and cutting out the pages so that you can get all of that information before you get started. I also have a quick note about cutting machines. PNGs are provided, but please be sure to use a machine or a method that allows you to print and cut at full page size. Cricut Print and Cut shrinks all of the pieces and can cause things to scale differently. I recommend using a full page workaround if printing and cutting with Cricut. If you're cutting by hand and are nervous about some of the more detailed pieces, then check out my fussy cutting tutorial where I go over the basics and work you up to creating more complex double-sided fussy cuts. We're going to start things off by assembling the box to hold all of the other projects. The box has a travel trunk theme with stickers on the lid and a pocket inside to hold a portrait of Penelope and a letter so that you can get to know her a little better. There are 14 pages in this project. 12 pages are going to be on cardstock, 2 are on paper. The pages with the envelope and the letter are going to be on paper, and you can print any backer paper on the reverse. I went with the striped one, which should be backer paper number 5. For supplies, you're going to need scissors to cut everything out, your bone folder and optional scoreboard, liquid glue with a fine point, and your optional glue stick. And I've used vintage photo distress ink on the edges of everything. So let's start by moving everything off to the side except for the pieces for the lid. So that will be this green trunk piece with the buckles on it, the floral panel with the pocket on it, the pocket itself, and then the 4 pieces that have the floral pattern on one side and the green trunk on the other, and then they're a little more narrow. They're smaller than the bottom of the box. So we're going to grab all 4 of those. And let's start off by attaching our pocket to our inside panel. This is going to be the inside part of the lid. So when you open it up, we have a little pocket and it will have the letter and portrait in it. And I'm just going to grab my liquid glue. And we're going to take this pocket panel, flip it over, and we're going to put a thin line of glue on all of the straight sides. So just a small line all the way around on those straight sides. We're leaving the curved side open. And then I'm going to place it on the other panel and just line it up as best you can with the pocket that's already printed there. It's going to look like that. And we're just going to sit that to the side to dry. And let's go ahead and grab the 4 side panels for the lid. So starting with the smaller ones, we've got a few creases to make here. One between the blue floral and the green trunk. One between the trunk and this bottom tab. Now there's a little green band here. We're not folding between the white and the green. We're folding between the solid green and then these trunk corners here. So that little bit of green gives you some fudge room when you put the top on, and that way you won't have any white peeking out. So we're going to fold here. So I like to fold the tab in, then fold the floral panel in, and then I like things to lay fairly flat. So I like to fold that tab panel right over top of the floral panel and then do my crease with my bone folder just to get everything nice and flat. Then I'm going to fold in these little side tabs just like so. And finally, if you're using vintage photo distress ink, I recommend putting a little ink around the tabs. So these green tabs and then this bottom tab. So anything with an angle is a tab. You don't need to do it along this crease. I just have that so you can see what I'm doing a little better. So a little ink along here, and that will help hide bright white paper whenever you put the box together. So I folded this one. You're going to repeat that for the second short side, and then we're going to glue this center panel down on both of those. So I'm just going to use some of my liquid glue. You can use your glue stick if you prefer. And I'll give that a quick smooth. And then repeat that for the second one. There we go. And now let's grab those longer panels. These have 2 folds, again, between the blue and the green, as well as the green trunk where the straps end, and then this green part of the tab. So fold and fold. Same thing, I like to fold over that blue pattern and then fold the tab over it, and then crease everything down really well, just to make sure it's all laying nice and flat. And then I actually put my extra ink along the wrong one. Put your extra ink along that tab. So let me grab my little dauber here, and I just like to scrub it along there really quickly. I don't get too fussy about it, but just like so. And then you can repeat that. I did this one correctly. You can repeat that with the second one. Fold, fold, and ink if you're using it. Now let's bring our panel with the pocket back, and we're going to glue these all on. So this really doesn't matter which way it goes. I prefer to do it this way because I'm a righty, pocket on the right-hand side. It makes my brain happy, so that's what I'm gonna do. These are labeled, but if you mix them up a little, it is no big deal. So the box lid, short side, bottom, that means this is going to go down here. So I'm just going to put glue right on the tab. And they're each labeled. All these sides are labeled as to where they should go. So I'm just going to grab my bottom, what I've decided is the bottom. Line that up left and right. Make sure it's in the crease and then give that a little fold over and a press. And then I'll readjust if I need to. Once I'm happy with where it is, I'll give that a smooth with my bone folder. I'll grab the other short side. This one is labeled top side. This is my top side. So I'm just going to glue that right underneath. So I've got a decent amount of glue on my tab. And again, I'm going to line up left and right, slide that into place, give that a little fold and press, double check everything. Grab one of the long sides. This one is labeled right side, so I'm just going to put that over here. And again, glue on the tab. You might want to flip it over, but the tab has the angled sides on it. Just make sure you're gluing the tab and not the patterned piece. And I'm just going to line that up. Now I'm going to fold this flap over first before folding this way. And then again, check, make sure, see I've slid to the side there. So we are going to check again. Pretty good. And then finally, we've got the left side, so that will pop right under here. So gluing on that tab. Lining up left and right. Nestle everything in, fold, fold, fold. Double check our line up, and that looks good. Now let's go ahead and fold all of these tabs up. We're going to need them at a right angle, a 90-degree angle here on the ends. We're going to open up one of our long sides. I'm going to put glue entirely around and in the middle of one of these panels. And then the other one gets glue up the sides where the tab is going to touch. Then I'm going to stand up my short sides and go up and over those tabs so that the tabs are sandwiched between both sides of this long side of the box. Lift it up. I'm going to check and make sure these corners are pressed in all the way at a 90-degree angle and pinch it. Down to the other end, same thing, pinch, pinch, pinch. And as I am assembling this, I am looking at it, and you've probably caught it. My corners aren't lined up. Don't worry about it. I'll fix that on yours. I'm going to let that go for now instead of reprinting the whole thing. Same thing on this side. There we go. I'm always finding little mistakes when I assemble these for you, and I get them fixed in before I send them your way. So glue up and over, pinch, pinch, pinch. And then I like to take my bone folder and make sure all of these are nice and crisp. So now we have a box lid with a pocket in it to hold Penelope's portrait, as well as her little letter. And then you can decide again which way you want this. I have top at the top for me, and I'm going to go ahead and glue this panel right on top of the box. So put the glue on here. And flip that over, and I'm going to give that a smooth from the other side. So when you get yours, all of these little corners should be at the top of the box. So I'm going to flip these here for you so that we have nice little corners all the way around on those box ends. So when you're putting this on, these buckles can go either way. It doesn't matter. Mine are towards the right. You can put yours towards the left. Everything pretty much lines up no matter how you decide to do it. So don't fuss about that too much. And then while we're here, let's go ahead and grab all of the labels and finish the lid decoration. So we're going to start with Penelope's Travels. That one I'm going to place in the middle. And then after that, you can place the rest of these anywhere you like. Just kind of play around with them. These are kind of like her little travel stickers for where she has gone, what she's visited in this kit. So you can kind of play around with them until you like how they've come together, and then glue them in place. I recommend making sure your glue gets all the way to the edges. You'll probably want to use a glue stick, or if you're using liquid glue, use something or your finger to spread that glue out all the way to the edges. I'm going to go ahead and grab my glue stick for this and just kind of do it this way. And stick these down. You want to make sure it's all the way to the edges so that the top of the box will hold up a little better. If you stack it with other things, other box kits, then hopefully they won't catch as much if you slide things around. So go ahead and do the Penelope's Travels label. And then you can finish putting the rest of the stickers, the rest of the labels on however you like. So once I've got my final sticker on, I am going to flip this over and give this a smooth from the back just to kind of firm that all up. And then that's it for the lid of the box. Now we're going to do the bottom of the box, and hopefully I've got everything oriented the correct way. It does look like that I've got everything correct this time. So we are going to repeat the same process. Our inside panel is this floral panel. That's the lining of the trunk. This is the outside. So let's put that off to the side for a moment and talk about these same folds. We've got a fold here between the green gathered fabric and the outside of the trunk, a fold here between the corners of the trunk and the green, and then both tabs will fold over. Do that for both of these, and then we're going to glue that green gathered tab down, the flap. And that's going to give us a decorative inside. And again, I've got my ink around those tab edges. Just glue the second one. There we go. And here's the other one. Again, two folds between the gathered and the outside trunk, and then the outside trunk up to those leather straps, and then the tab. Once you have those prepared, let's grab that blue floral inside. It can go either way. That's up to you. I'm going to do mine this way. And then just go ahead and start grabbing panels and gluing them down. It doesn't matter what order, just start gluing these tabs underneath the inside panel. So this time I'm starting with the left side. You might find that you work a little better doing certain sides first if you've done several of these kits with me. I have several kits out now, these box kits. So again, with this one, underneath, line up left and right, fold, fold, fold. And then double check. And then I'll go ahead and stick with the long sides. I'll do the right side now. Glue under that tab. There we go. Fold, fold, fold. Double check left and right. Looks good. We've got the bottom side, so I'm just going to go down here. I'm going to turn it so it's a little easier to work on. And again, these are interchangeable on this kit. I think I've done 1 or 2 kits where each side was meant to be a certain way, but mostly I just have these labeled because it makes my brain, and I know a lot of other people's brains, very happy. Just to have that guidance. And finally, the top one. Line up left and right, and fold, fold, fold. Now we're going to get those little tabs, make sure they're folded at 90-degree angles on our short ends. Going to grab our large panel, cover one of the panels in glue. Then go up the sides where those tabs are going to touch on the other panel. Stand up our short ends, make sure our tabs are 90 degrees. Flip up, over, and sandwich those tabs in the middle. I'm going to pinch, just gently. Check those corners, pinch more. Pinch, pinch, pinch. Same thing with the other one. Pinch, pinch, pinch. And stand that up and run my bone folder back and forth. And then finally, we're going to do the last side. Again, glue all on one panel, all over, up the sides of the other. Stand it up. Fold it over. Pinch, 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 pinch. Check those corners. Almost forgot to check this one. There we go. We're in good shape. Everything's in a nice right angle. And now we have something that looks like this. I love the colors on this. And then I'm going to flip it over. You can see top is where my top would be. And I'm just going to put the bottom of that trunk on. So glue all around. Gluing all the way to the edge will help this hold up longer, just from general handling. So smoothing that glue all the way up to the edge or sliding things around, spreading it to the edge is going to make things hold up better. And you can see how that corner on this one looks much nicer than the corner on the lid where I messed up. That's the effect we're going for. And that is the box bottom completed. Now I'm going to set this to the side. I'm going to grab the envelope. The envelope has a fold here and here for the tabs, so those are just going to fold in. There is a fold here to fold up the bottom, and then there is a fold right here to fold down the top flap. So that is the back, that is the front, and I'm just going to put glue on these tabs like so. There we go. So here is our envelope. I'll let that dry before putting anything inside. I'm going to grab the 2 large ovals. These are going to glue back and back. This is going to be our portrait of Penelope. And then there's a little saying on the back along with her signature. So these, I'm just going to cover it in glue. Again, you might find your glue stick helpful here. And then line them up. Just kind of rotate it until everything comes into place. Oval can be just a little tricky. And if something doesn't line up perfectly and you're using distress ink, you can just kind of hit the edges of that once your glue is dry. And finally, I provided a bunch of portraits for you to decide what Penelope looks like. So you can kind of flip through all of these options and decide who you like the most. And I had come down for me between these two, and this one I think has won my heart. So that is the one I'm going to go with. All of the portraits have Penelope wearing her magic traveling necklace. And I'm just going to place that right into the oval as neatly as possible. So there, I've got Penelope's portrait. Bringing my envelope back, I have her letter, and I'm just going to fold that in half. And slide that down inside. And let's grab our box lid. And both of these are going to slide right down inside of our pocket, which hopefully should be dry by now. So if you don't think yours is dry, wait until it is, but there we go. And finally, let's grab the box bottom and moment of truth. Make sure they fit together. And there we go. That is the box for Penelope's travels. Penelope's first stop is an apothecary shop where you can buy tonics and potions. This little folio is made to look like a brown paper bag with the top folded over, and we're going to fill it with a description of the shop as well as a variety of potion bottles. There are 7 pages in this project, 5 on cardstock, 2 on your choice of cardstock or paper. Backer paper 1, which is the dark wood background with the colorful splotches, it needs to be printed on the back of the 2 pages with a folio body on it. That's these 2 with this kind of braided design and the paper bag texture. The pages with the portraits on them can be printed on your choice of paper or cardstock. You're only using 1 portrait for this project, so think about what you might want to use the others for when selecting your paper. If you're not sure which pages are for this project, look for the ones marked Part 2, Apothecary. For supplies, you're going to need scissors to cut everything out, a bone folder and an optional scoreboard, liquid glue with a fine point and your optional glue stick, and I have used vintage photo distress ink on the edges of everything. I will also be using Velcro dots in this project to hold the flap of the folio shut. So to get started, let's move all the extra pieces off to the side. And we're just going to start with the 2 body pieces of the folio. So I'm going to get this all out of the way. Let's keep our sign for now. And we're going to give these a fold. So we're going to fold the shorter one right along this line here. And you're just going to crease that. I would go back and forth just 2-3 times to break that in just a little bit. And then same thing on this one, the longer one, we have a line here. We're going to fold that back and forth a couple of times, give that a little crease, and then the top is going to fold here along this line. Once we have these all folded, we're going to attach these together by overlapping these 2 flaps. It does not matter which one is on top. And we're just going to glue those together. I'm going to grab my liquid glue. And I'm just grabbing the taller one here and putting a good coating of glue all along that tab. And then I'm going to layer that together like so. So this is going to fold up like this and make this kind of a shape. And I'm just going to smooth that down really quick. So let's flip over and look at that flap, and to make sure we get things in the right direction, I'm going to fold everything all the way up and go this way. We have the name of our shop. We've got Cork and Cauldron. That little sign is going to pop right here. The brackets on the sign are going to line up with the design that's already on the panel. And then it's all just going to kind of dip down in here. So we're just going to make sure that's fully on the flap and that things are kind of lined up. Don't stress about it. Just get it on there. It doesn't have to be lined up perfectly. I'm just going to put a good coating of glue on there. And making sure it's not going off at the top or bottom or either of the sides. I'm going to give that a smooth. And now we can open this up, and this is quite long. We're going to start at the very top. So we're going to need 2 pieces for this top flap. We've got a description of the inside of the shop. And then this little kind of tab piece here, it's just going to nestle right into that curved space. Again, if you've cut this by hand and it's not perfect, don't worry about it. You can throw a little distress ink there just to kind of clean things up. It's no big deal. So I'm going to put some glue on that little tab and nestle that right up against the edge, or as close to it as you can get. And then we want to check, I have kind of put some ink along this line here. You can kind of see it. You want to center up this piece right in the center of this panel. I'm going to put some glue on the back of there, making sure it's right side up. And I am just going to smooth that down so you can see it is centered on that panel. Once this is done, we are going to put this to the side to dry for a moment, and let's grab this striped panel. This panel is maybe slightly darker at the bottom than it is at the top, but the direction doesn't matter. So we've got that, and then we're going to grab this tabbed panel here, along with this piece with the seal with the 4-leaf clover, and then a portrait for our shopkeeper. So you can go through and choose the shopkeeper that you like the most. My selection is on top. So the first thing we're going to do is get the folds on this panel with the tab. You're going to fold along the tab and give that a good crease. And then you are going to fold in, meet that tab, and then press that flat so that everything lies nice and flat while it's all folded over. This is going to be a little flip on the side of this and open and close. So we want to make sure everything lays nice and flat. Once you've got your folds, you're going to glue this panel down to this panel here. I'm using my liquid glue. You can use a glue stick if you like. I'll just give that a quick smooth. And now we have these 2 pieces of information that are going to go. We've got a man named Mr. Moss greeted me at the counter. I'm actually going to put this one on the inside. That way when we open the folio, we see his friendly face right here instead of just text looking at us. When we flip this open, we can find out who he is. So starting with the tan tab side up, we're going to take our chosen portrait for Mr. Moss and glue that down. And then flipping over, we have our little bit of text here. Let's make sure it is right side up and place that here. There we go. Just centered right up on the panel. Next, we're going to grab our backer panel and we're just going to go just about centered on this. It really doesn't matter too much, just right about yay. And we're going to place some glue on the dark wood part of this tab. And then just position it about in the middle, fold over, and press. So now we have something that looks like this. Let's bring our folio back and we're just going to glue this panel down so it is centered in this large space. You can fold under, so we have that little kind of bottom of the bag here. Fold that all the way up so that all we have is this here. And we're going to glue this panel down so it's centered in this large space between the crease here and the crease here. So I'm just going to, everything's a little sticky because I jumped ahead earlier. You didn't see it, but I glued this down before putting the tab on. Let's get some glue on here and center it up. There we go. I'm going to open that back up. Make that a nice sharp crease. And let's flip over. Now we have a couple of things that go on top of this. There is this little workspace image. This is going to glue directly down at the top. And then below that, we're going to glue this little shelf cubby as a pocket. This shelf cubby has kind of a bottom on it, the bottom of the shelf. And you'll see some little tan boxes. Those are going to help us align up a band that goes across here. So those are going to go here. So let's go ahead and grab our band. We need to glue this on before we can glue the pocket in place or the design at the top. This is going to fold here on this line and here on this line. And those are going to fold to the back. You're going to bring it to this little cubby shelf and hook it around so that those little tabs go to the back and that the guide rectangles on either side are covered. You are not going to put glue on the guide rectangles. Those are just there for placement guides. So kind of get it into place. I'm going to slide out of the way here. And I've got, whoops. So here we go. We have our little band hooked around. You'll be able to move this around a little if you use a little liquid glue. So I'm going to put some on either tab, neatly, hopefully, on either side. Make sure you glue this down well, because this is going to be a pocket when we glue it on. And then check your front and make sure that you've covered up those little boxes. It should be fairly straight if you get them both covered up well. And then pinch, 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 just to lock everything in. There we go. So now we have a little band here that's going to hold some goodies for us. That's where all of our potion bottles are going to go. Let's bring our folio back and look at the positioning here, because both of these are going to go on and you want them to be kind of centered in the space as best you can. So you just arrange them until you have them how you like them. We're going to glue this down entirely, this little workspace scene, fully glued down at the top. And then this is going to be a pocket. So we're going to pick that up, flip it over, hold it by the top. Your little tab should be towards the bottom. And we're going to glue on 3 sides, right, left, and bottom. Just a thin line of glue so that this can be a pocket to hold a couple of things for us. And then we're going to center this up and kind of line it up with our other image as best we can. You want a little space between the two so it's easier to put things down into the pocket. We're going to let that dry and slide up and work on this bottom section. You're going to have a little segment here with no design. So you have that bottom right there where it folds up. Skip past that and go right to this very bottom large panel. We've got a background image of the shop. We're going to glue that down centered in the panel. So I'll just get glue around the edges. We're going to glue this all the way down. There we go. And then we have this little flyer, potions for everyday needs, and that is just going to pop right on top like that. And I'm going to glue this all the way down. You could do it just at the top if you want a little bit of lift to it, or you want to be kind of creative with it. This is also a great place to add some embellishments if you like to add a little something extra. You've got some room in here that you could put something at the top or on one of the corners if you like. Now let's put this entire folio off to the side so it can dry, and let's work on the ephemera pieces that are going to go inside. We have a bunch of double-sided fussy cut bottles here. When you're cutting these out, if you're cutting them by hand, the easiest way to do this is to cut just the tippy top out and then cut the bottom out of both, glue them back to back, and then finish cutting the rest out so that everything kind of lines up. It's a little easier that way. I do have a fussy cutting video. I'll mention it at the beginning of this video. It will also be linked in the description down below. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, please check that out. There is a segment on double-sided fussy cuts. So we're going to take these fussy cuts, cut them all out if you haven't already, and then we're just going to glue them all back to back. So that you have something that looks like this. So here I am with my last one. I've got the others done, and I'm just going to get some glue on the back of this Instant Calm. My last little fussy cut. There we go. Put those to the side, and let's grab these pieces here. We've got a piece with the receipt on it for the potion of instant calm that Penelope purchases. We're just going to fold that in half and then glue the backs together so that we're making a double-sided tag. Give that a smooth. And then on the blank side with just the floral pattern, we're going to put this little tag. It says, I purchased a bottle of Instant Calm to keep in my travel bag. There we go. And over the top, we have a little tab with a cauldron on it. We're just going to fold that in half, and it's going to slip right over the top here. So glue on both sides of that, just a little bit. And I'm just going to pinch that over the top, and I'm going to meet the top of this embellishment. So it's going to look like that. And let's bring back our folio. Everything is going to go in this area here. So in the pocket, we've got our potion of instant calm as well as Penelope's receipt. Make sure your pocket is dry before you slide things in, or else they could get glued in. So we're just going to slide these in here, just enough that they're not sticking up into this crease. And then we're going to load the shelves up with all of our other bottles. We're just going to slide all of these in here like so. And then we'll flip that over, flip up, flip down, and I'm going to secure this with a Velcro dot. I've got these here. I love these. I use these all the time. One side is going to be clear, the other white. It's up to you which side you put them on, if you have the same ones as me. And I think I'm going to go ahead and put the clear side, hopefully that's the clear side, on my little tab. I can get it off my finger. And then I'm just going to line it up, give it a press. And that holds the whole thing shut for when it goes into our box. And now we have this cute little paper bag style folio to go into our box with a full description of the apothecary shop. The next place Penelope's necklace whisks her away to is a flower shop situated in an unusual place. This folio has a fun little pop-up display on the front and also holds her purchase of several packets of magical flower seeds. There are 8 pages in this project, 5 on cardstock, 3 on your choice of cardstock or paper. Backer 2, which is the floral background, needs to be printed on the back of the 2 pages with the folio body on it. So that is this piece here and this piece here as well. These all have the flower background on them. You also have the option of printing backer 2 on the reverse of the page with the receipt and the pop-ups. This is totally optional. I've opted not to do that, but if you want these to be a little more finished, you can go ahead and print that on the reverse. The 3 pages with the portraits and the envelopes on them can be printed on your choice of paper or cardstock. Either one will work. You're only going to use one portrait for this project, so think about what you might use the others for when you select your paper. For supplies, you're going to need scissors to cut everything out, your bone folder and optional scoreboard, liquid glue with a fine point, and your optional glue stick. And I've used vintage photo distress ink on the edges of everything. I'll also be using some sequin to simulate the kind of sound, that shaky sound of seeds inside of my seed packets. I've chosen these because they are very flat and won't add a lot of bulk and will give me the noise that I'm looking for. So I'm going to start by moving everything to the side except for these larger folio pieces. So I have this larger piece here as well as this flap with the print on it and the back piece. I'm going to start by making a series of folds on this larger piece. There are quite a few here. We've got one right along this line here. We do have a little spine on this folio. So we have one here, one on the other end of the spine so that we end up with a little tab that flaps to the back. There is one along here. This will be a lighter line, and then a second lighter line runs right along here. I recommend folding up along this line, making sure that your edge is even before creasing, and then folding this panel down to meet the bottom edge. And you should be right about where that line is. So just match up the corners and line up along the edge and then give that a press. We're then going to glue this little flap that we just folded down to the other one. So I'm just going to grab my glue and run a little glue around there and press that down. This is going to be the flap that makes our pop-up function on the front of the folio. Next, we have two creases on this panel. We are not creasing the left-hand side. This is a decorative edge. We are only creasing the right-hand side. So right here between the tan and the flowers, and then here again between the lighter spine and the darker back tab. So that is going to make this shape as well. Once we have both of these folded, I'm going to flip them over, grab my back piece, flip that over as well, and we're actually going to cover up these little flowers with the flowered tabs on either side. So this is going to, I'll flip it over, all the pieces, these are going to glue right on top like so. The print should line up or pretty close to it, those stripes. So we're just going to glue like that. So let's start with this one here. I'm just going to glue on this tab. I have a little ink here so that you can kind of see where I'm gluing. This is right side up. We want this little rectangle to be at the top, and I'm just going to put these together. Lay it down so it's a little easier to handle. And I'm going to line up on that tab. I'm just going to lift up so I can push this right up into the crease. I'm just bending at a 90-degree angle, pressing this right up into that angle, and then making sure those sides are even. So there is our first one in place, and we're going to do the same thing with the second one. I'm going to put glue right on that tab, making sure everything is right side up. So our flap is at the bottom. We've got our box at the top, our text here. I'm just going to flip this over horizontally and put that into place. And same thing, I'm going to position on that tab, fold up at a 90-degree angle, and just kind of push this right into that crease. And then make sure that I'm even at the top and the bottom. So now we have a folio that is going to function like so. Here is the back and the front. Next, let's go ahead and grab these decorative straps. So first, we've got the two with the rounded ends. These are going to glue back to back. So I'm just going to put glue on the shorter one on the reverse side. And then line these up back to back. This is going to make a double-sided strap. And then let's let this dry for just a moment and bring the second strap over. We have a line right here, and I'm just going to fold along that line. This is just a decorative embellishment for the back. I'm folding over, creasing, and we're going to glue this whole thing down, but we're going to wrap it right over the top of the folio. So the bow will hang down the back, and then it's going to come over to the inside to add a little detail at the top on the inside. So I am going to put glue on the entire back. I recommend gluing all the way to the edges. Your glue stick might work a little better for this. But you know I love my liquid glue. And I'm just going to hook over and make sure that I've covered that light box at the top. That's just a guide to make it easier for you to center this up. And I'm going to smooth it down, flip it over, and press that into place. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to line up with the strap, but we're only going to glue the tab. So I'm folding over. This is our double-sided strap. Folding that tab over, give that a good crease. We are only putting glue on the tab this time. So we've got our glue on the tab. I'm going to hook this right over the top, lining up with the print. And now we have that little detail on the inside. And this is going to be our closure. Finally, let's flip up this bottom flap, and we're going to put the Buoyant Blooms label right here, but we're only going to glue the left and the right. We're going to want to be able to slide this strap down inside of there to hold the whole thing closed. So, got my label, I'm going to flip over, and I'm gluing about a ½ inch on either side. Just like that. And then I'm going to center this up. Just eyeball it. You can kind of use the point and point that right up the middle and make sure that is straight. Now we're going to flip over to the inside, unfold this so that that label is facing upward and it can dry while we're working on the inside. And we have two panels that we want to glue down on the inside. There's not really an up or down on the wood one, but this one has an image of our flower shop, which is situated on a dock on a lake. And our panels are going to center up within these larger panels in the folio. So you might need to fold a little bit. You can fold back so that you can get the spine out of the way so that you can kind of visualize this a little better. But this is going to center up on the panel above our flap and over our moving strap. So we're going to just glue this all the way down. I'm going to open this back up, and we're going to do the same thing with this panel. You could probably see my spines pretty well here. I have put some ink on them. Again, you can fold these panels back if it makes it a little easier. So I'm just going to glue this entire wood panel down. And I'm going to do my best to line that up visually with the one on the other page. Finally, for the inside, we have this image of a floral display that is going to go on this final panel. And again, if you need to, you can fold back to get that spine area out of the way so it's a little easier for you to figure out exactly where this is going to go. Let's pop that right there. Now we have a couple of extra things to add. First, we have this corner. We're going to make a corner tuck right up here. The print should match up fairly well. So I'm just going to hold this along the angled side and put a thin line of glue along the straight sides, the top and the left, so that we have a top tuck. And then I'm going to pop that in right here on the left-hand side, top left-hand side of that image. And in the center, we're going to have this curved pocket. There are two tabs, one on the side, one on the bottom. You want to fold those over and give them a good crease. And then we're going to glue this in place here to hold our seed packets. I'm going to go ahead and put glue on both tabs. Like so. Next, we're going to make a little tuck on the front with this seeds and starter plants piece. I'm just going to glue along the angled side and then the right-hand side. So this is just going to be a little kind of tuck spot to put our receipt down in. It should hold it nice and tight. And then I'm just going to press that into place there. Now let's put this off to the side and start preparing our pieces for the pop-up. We have our 3 fussy cuts of our flowers, as well as 3 long pieces with several stripes on them. So each of these are going to need to be folded between each of the sections. So let's see if I can move these and my camera will focus a little better. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 folds on each of these. So you're going to fold them up. One of the tabs is marked glue. You'll put glue on that tab. And then overlap the other flap on it. If you can't get your finger in there, you can always use your bone folder or your scissors to kind of create some pressure there. Then you'll have a little piece that looks like this. And I'm going to repeat that for the others. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Glue on this large one. There we go. So there is that one. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Glue on the panel that says glue. And press that into place. I'm going to just grab my scissors and use those to make a little pressure. Let's go ahead and bring our folio back. I'm going to flip it over so that we are working on this front panel with the flap that lifts up. We have our shop name here. And we're going to grab the largest panel. This panel is going to glue in and you'll see back and bottom. This is the bottom, this is the back. This is going to sit right into the corner between the back and the bottom. It's going to create a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on the back and some glue on the bottom. Place it right in the center and then lift up to a 90-degree angle. I'm going to grab my scissors and give it a little bit of a press as well as I can. And then I can kind of squeeze here. So we have made this kind of a shape on the front. Once I have it in place, I'm going to fold up, give that a good press because we're going to need to fold this up and down. Bring it back down, make sure nothing has shifted. So you're just kind of testing the action a little bit. Your glue's wet, it's going to move around just a little, that's okay. Nudge it into place. And there we go. This seems to be moving really well for me. Next, let's grab the medium one. And we have a back and bottom here. Again, glue. Whoops. And glue. And then you're going to see a faint outline of where this is going to go on the front of this brown panel. There's a little square there and a rectangle there. We're going to go right up against this rectangle. There we go. So that is what it looks like from the side. Make sure you've got everything kind of nestled up against each other really well. And then we have our little one again, back and bottom. And we're going to place that here where that faint marking is. So the plain wood goes to the front, the decorative wood goes to the top, like so. And here that is from this side. So these are all of our pop-up mechanisms. I'm going to give that a test fold. Don't be afraid if you have to fiddle with this or pull it up and reposition it. Mine actually looks pretty good. I recommend once you've got these positioned and it's working correctly, let it dry for a minute before you move to the next step. Once you're ready to move on, we're going to place our flowers on the shelves. So the larger vase is going to go right here. The purple vase is going to go here. And then this long planter is going to go right along this bottom shelf. So when we're putting these in, we want to make sure that our flowers aren't too far over and coming out of the side of our folio. So we want to make sure that I'm trying to keep it within these little flower studs. So right about there, so that when this folds up, it's going to peek up and be the little bushel of flour sticking up. So I'm just going to put my glue right there and pop that into place. You can push this down just a little bit into that crease if you have some give still, right in between these two risers. But this is gluing to the back, that first long kind of tube that we put in right there. Next, I'm going to put in the purple vase. I'm just going to glue directly on there. Put that into place. Here you can see the side view, what this looks like. And last, I'm going to put the long planter right here. Now, being very careful, because if you have sloppy glue somewhere, you might need to just let this dry, but carefully, I like to give it just a little bit of a press to make sure everything is going to be how I want it. Everything's in place. I'd like to move that over just a bit. I might actually move this one over just a bit as well. And this is just me being picky. You do not have to be this picky. There we go. And I like how that looks, and we'll be able to come in and strap that down. Leave this open so that it can dry. Leave it at a 90-degree angle to dry. And let's work on some of the ephemera bits. All right, so we have a few things to work with here. We have 4 envelopes, a card, and an image. There are a couple of pieces left still. We need to do the portrait and the receipt. We'll come back to those in a moment. Let's start with the envelopes so we can give those a moment to dry. The envelopes are pretty simple. You're just going to fold 1, 2, 3, 4. And then using a little line of glue, we're just going to attach here. And then a little line of glue here on the shorter flap, flip that up. And you're going to repeat that for all 4 envelopes. And then I recommend letting these dry. At the beginning of this, I told you I was going to put some sequin in, and I want to make sure my sequin don't get caught in my glue. If you're not putting anything inside, then you can just seal these all the way shut so that they're just little packets. If you don't have sequin, you can try using something else a little thinner. Maybe you have a piece of plastic packaging and a hole punch. You can just punch a bunch of little plastic kind of dots and put those in. What we're looking for is kind of that shaker sound whenever you pick them up and move them around. So it sounds like there's seeds inside. But this is a detail that you can entirely skip if you want. One more. Now these get another detail. I have these little care instructions for each one. And you're gonna be able to match them up. So there is one that is more green. That one is going to go on the back of the Gossip Gladiolus. And we're just gonna fold that flap down so that we know where to position it. You don't want to put it too high. So I'm folding down and I'm just putting those care instructions on the back. The one with the moon is going to go on the Moon Glow lilies. Again, fold that flap down before finding the positioning for that. Make sure that it is centered. There's one with a cloud. That is for the vapor roses. And then we've got the inkwell orchids. Those are the one with the inkwell on it. And again, I am folding this flap down so I can see where I'm working. I know this is a little black on black here. I apologize for that. All right, and let's let those all dry before I put my sequin in them. I don't want the sequin to go in and get stuck in glue from doing the tab. We have a card here that just needs to be folded in half and glued back to back. So a little description of the front of the shop, and then here is an open doorway into the shop. Just going to glue that right on the back. And then once I am sure these are all dry, I'm going to put a little sprinkle of my sequin inside of them. So let me just hold that shut. You can kind of hear. Makes that noise, like a little seed packet noise. So I'm going to go ahead and fill all of these. I'm not going to fill them. I'm just putting a small sprinkle in each one. Just enough that I'm going to have that little tiny bit of shaker noise and you can feel there is something inside. Not so many that it's going to add a ton of bulk to my project. I did allow a little room. So if you're not sure if what you choose is going to be too bulky, you can put some in without sealing it shut and then tuck them into the pocket. I'll show you where they go. And then see how your folio closes up before you seal everything up. You might come up with another idea of something to put in here. I'd love to hear what that is. If you want to comment down below and let me know what you used. If you didn't have sequin on hand and you used something else, I would love to know what you used. All right, we're going to take these out of the way, bring our folio back. I'm going to push this down. Our pop-up is all complete. I'm going to press down. I am going to give this a nice firm crease and a press. You got to be assertive with your pop-ups, and then slide my strap in. That's going to hold fairly well. Let's go ahead and slide over and pick a portrait. And I actually think I'm going to go with this portrait here, and that is just going to pop in like so. There we go. And then flipping over to the inside, this card is going to go right up into our corner tuck. Our seed packets are all going to slide into this large curved pocket. You might need to shake some of your seeds to the top, your sequin to the top. So they aren't all bulky at the bottom. It's not all lining up in the same place. Just kind of disperse them a little bit and pile them all in, and make sure you aren't getting into your crease, that they aren't angling out too far, because you'll want to be able to close this. And then we have our receipt. It's going to tuck into this pocket. I'm just going to fold that right in half. If you did not print the back side of this, you can always buff a little distress ink on the back to finish it off. I'm going to leave mine be, and I'm just going to tuck this right into my pocket at a cute angle. And then we're going to be able to fold that flap over and that flap over. And that is it for our florist shop. Penelope's next stop is a bookstore we can all only dream about. Inside of this book-themed folio, we're going to get the details of her visit and tuck away 3 mini books that she purchased while she was there. There are 9 pages in this project. 6 are on cardstock, 3 on paper. Backer 3, which is the book print, that is this one right here, needs to be printed on the back of the pages with the folio body and the page with the funky little pocket here. So these 2 pages are going to need the book print on the back. The 3 pages with the book pages on them, they look like this. There are 3 of them. These all need to be printed on paper. And the page with the portraits on it, I printed mine in cardstock, but you can print it in your choice of cardstock or paper, depending on what you'd like to do with those leftover portraits. If you're not sure which pages are for this project, look for the ones marked Part 4, Bookstore. For supplies, you're going to need scissors to cut everything out, your bone folder and optional scoreboard, liquid glue with a fine point, and your optional glue stick. I've used vintage photo distress ink on the edges of everything. And for this project, we're going to use a Velcro dot to hold the project closed. So we're going to jump around a little bit because we are making these mini books and I want to allow some dry time in between. So I'm going to put all of the bits and bobs out of the way and let's grab those mini book covers. So there are 3 different covers. Each of these covers is going to be creased here in between the cover of the book and the blank area here. And then you'll also want to score and crease on either side of the spine. So that is going to look like this. So we will have to refold that later, but you'll at least need to score there. I've just scored, but you can go ahead and give that a good fold right now if you want to. Once you have all 3 of these creased, we're going to go ahead and fold them in half and glue this together so that it is print on both front and back. So you can use whichever glue you like. I'm just going to use my liquid glue. There we go. There is one, and I'm going to do the other 2. There we go. And that's going to give these time to dry before we try to insert the pages into them. Let me try to match that up just a little better. There we go. So there are the 3 book covers. We're going to leave those flat for now and put them to the side to dry. Next, let's go ahead and assemble the pages so they'll be ready to go into the books. So there are 3 sets, one about flowers, one about birds, and one about travel. So keep all of those pages together, and I'm going to show you how to fold these. So you can just grab any one for now. And we're going to need to make a little zigzag with this. The first thing you're going to do is fold them in half with the print on the inside, and that'll get you a fold right along that middle crease. We're going to fold up in half, open it up. Then we're going to take the end and fold that in to meet the line right here. So we're just going to fold, for this one, it's the little end paper and the title page. I'm just going to fold one over the other. And then I'm going to flip it over. That fold we just did, still folded, and I'm going to fold to the middle. So here's my little distress ink dauber. So you can see the middle of my page. So again, we're going to fold these in half, print inside, open it up, fold the end paper over to the line, turn it, repeat end paper to the line. With those folded, flip over, fold to the center, fold to the center. Then when you open it up, you're going to have a zigzag that looks like this. And you should be able to pinch those 2 middle pages, those 2 sets of pages there, and have little wings to the side. Once you have those folds done for everything, we can start gluing them together. You can use whichever glue you prefer. We are only gluing the pages that I just pinched. So you do not glue these end papers. You just glue these 2 here. So the middle 4, The two on one side of the center are glued together, and then the two on the other side of center are glued together. So I'm just going to pinch, pinch, and pinch, pinch. I probably used way too much glue there, and that leaves us with that little X shape with our glued pages here, and then our little end wings right here. Now give that a smooth. And I'm going to repeat that for all the rest of the pages so that we have this little X shape. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quickly. And while I'm doing this, I am keeping them grouped together so that I don't mix my pages up and get the flower pages with the bird pages and the travel pages mixed in. So keep each set of 3 little page clusters together. And this is my last one. And then we're going to attach these together. So I'm going to go back to my first ones. They've had a moment to dry. If you need to give yours a little longer to dry, go ahead and do that. And I'm going to find the one that has the patterned paper. These all have one that has a little patterned paper in the front. Let's see. So we have the title page and the patterned paper. That's going to be the first one for each of these. So I've got the Magical Blooms one. There's going to be one with a patterned paper at the end and a picture at the end. So that one is going to go to my right. Pattern paper and title page goes to my left. And then the other one goes in the middle. And we're going to glue these together. So I'm actually going to take my little X and fold it up so all the print is on the inside. Give that a little crease. Then I'm going to take the middle one. It's got the lily and the iris. Fold that up so the print is on the inside. Give that a crease. Make sure it's still right side up. And then we are going to glue the purple flower to the lily, the page with the text about the lily. And I'm just going to kind of smoosh that around a little bit. We'll line up the corners and then fold it so all of the print is on the inside. And I'm going to try to make sure that this is as flush in the back and all the sides as possible. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I've got the page with the iris on it. I'm going to grab this last one. We've got our little print page in the back. Fold that up so the print is all on the inside. And then we've got this shadow tulip page, and we're just going to glue that back to back again. So these will be all of the pages inside of the flower book. And again, making sure that back is as flush as possible. We just want things to be nice and lined up, and then squish, squish, squish. And there we go. If anything isn't aligned properly, you can give it a little trim with scissors. If it's like the edge of the pages here, don't trim the back, everything will fall apart. So that is book number 1. We've got both our little print pages on the outside. I'm going to put that to the side to dry. I'm going to go ahead and assemble all of these with you so there's no confusion. So here's the travel book. We've got that printed page. Squish, squish. The one without the print has a map in the middle. Press that down, and then we're going to make sure they're both right side up and put those backs of the pages together. So Valoria and then this kind of ziggurat page. Glue those together. Fold it up, line up. And then same with the last one, making sure we're right side up. We've got that same printed page in the back. And we're going to put the Mariquette page here. So there is book number 2. Make sure all my pages aren't stuck together here. There we go. Put that to the side to dry. And then book number 3, same thing. You're going to look for that leading page. Then the Rainbow Finch page is going to go to the back of the Aether Falcon page. And then the Thunderbird page will go back to back with this image of the Phoenix. Now, if you are squinting and trying to read the print on here, the print is fake. There's no real text there. It's small, hard to see. There wasn't a lot of room for me to put anything of substance there and have you be able to read it well. So I opted to just go with fake filler text this time. I know usually I try to be super detailed and put information everywhere, but I dropped the ball on this one. I also wanted to get this out on time, and writing all of that text would have taken quite a bit of time for these little books. So, all right, and there is my last little set of pages. I'm going to put these off to the side, and now we're going to work on the folio. So let's start with the folio body. There are 2 creases here, one on either side of this book spine piece. So I'll go ahead and do those folds. And then I'm going to sit this to the side, and I'm going to grab this pocket piece as well as this additional striped piece. Now the pocket piece has a few folds on it. First, we're going to fold between the striped background and the books. Give that a good crease. Then we're going to fold between the green and the books all the way around. And then between the green and the brown all the way around. Because we're going to build a little pocket to nestle our books down inside. And all of these are going to come to the back. And then we're going to attach a panel to the inside of this. This striped bit is actually going to go on the inside, the books on the outside. You can flip that though if you like and do the striped on the back. This is going to have glue on it. You're not going to see it, and have the books on the inside. So when you look it down in there, it's finished. So that can go either way. For this video, I am going to glue over the stripe in the back so that you can see on camera a little better. I feel like this is a little harder on your eyes. So we have our pocket. We need to fold down this flap. We just have to back up one little step before we attach that backer. And I'm just going to glue this flap down. This is decorative, and it's also going to add some substance to the pocket. So it'll be hardier and hold up. Next, I'm going to fold these little flaps over. And I'd like to tack them right here at the corners. I'm going to put a little glue on the bottom of the short sides, just a little bit. And then I'm just going to get these to stick together. You can use a little tape or something if you're impatient. The glue is going to take a minute to kind of set up. But you're going to make these corners as neat as possible. So kind of press that together and make nice, neat little corners. I'm going to grab my bone folder so I can come up under here and give it a bit of a press and then adjust it. Do your best with this. If you're using a liquid glue, sometimes letting it set up for a moment makes it easier to handle. And I'm going to take this opportunity to kind of make sure these creases are fairly square and that it isn't lifting up, that everything is pretty flat. Next, I'm going to grab my panel, decide what you want inside, which is what can potentially be seen, and what is going to be the back. Slip this down inside, make sure it fits. Mine fits really well. And I'm actually going to run a glue right along these 3 sides because we need to bring it in underneath these tabs, and then I'm going to use my bone folder to press that up against to put that into place. This is going to be the pocket that holds our mini books. This doesn't really have an up or down. I think you can get away with either way. It's just finished, so it's not stark white down in there. I'll just slide that down in. I'm going to stand it up and then just grab my bone folder and press that into place. And now we have this little pocket that our books are going to fit down inside. It's very cute. Before we can start adding things onto our folio base, we have a couple more things to attach together. So let's see here. There is a pocket and then our little strap here, kind of a decorative bookmark. For the pocket, the striped panel is going to line up with the background. This only lines up one way. So if it comes up too short, then you'll need to turn it so that they match up. It doesn't matter which part you want to be the top, if you want it to be dark that way or dark over here, that does not matter. But we're gonna line these up. This striped one will be a pocket, so we're just going to flip it over and glue 3 sides, left, right, and bottom. Like so. Line that up. And then let's bring this over to our folio. Here's the spine. This is the short panel. This is the longer panel. We are going to, I'm going to fold it so that that spine is behind. I'm just going to fold it all the way flat so I can work on it. This is the larger panel, and this is going to float right in the center of that large panel. And we're going to glue this all the way down. Smooth that into place. I'm also going to grab this one since we're working on that panel. This is the front door of the bookstore. I'm going to flip over, and this just centers on the back panel. Just gives us some more visual interest, lets us know what the outside of the shop looks like, and it is making our folio a little more sturdy. I'm going to center that on the back panel. Let's turn it this way and go ahead and grab these 2 straps. We're going to glue these straps back to back. There we go. You might like to let those dry for a moment, and then when you're ready, we're going to glue it to the front of this folio. And it's going to overhang at the bottom just enough that we can get one of those Velcro dots behind it. This is a guide. You can either glue just here, or I'm going to actually glue mine down all the way down. This is just to kind of help you get it centered and straight. So I'm going to place glue here, and then I'm going to go ahead and just run a little kind of squiggle of glue down that way. And then drop that into place. It doesn't matter which side is up. You just want to make sure that you're hanging off at the bottom and it's as centered and straight as you can get it. Once that's dry enough or stuck enough, we can flip back over. Kind of jumping around a bit, but that's just where I'm at today. And this library kind of scene is going to go here on this panel. So again, I'm going to fold it so that we're not messing with the spine area here. It's just going to be centered within that upper panel. So then that spine will show the little bit of books in the middle. And we're going to glue this one all the way down. Like so. And then let's grab the strip that says, I've never seen a bookstore quite like this. This is going to be a tuck spot at the top of this image. So we're going to glue it like a pocket, but upside down. So we're going to take it, I'm going to hold it by the bottom, flip it over, And I'm gluing a thin line of glue on the two short sides and the top side. And then I'm going to slide this into place, matching up with this little background image we just put on. So right at the top. Finally, let's go ahead and grab our pocket. This pocket is going to glue in here at the bottom. We're going to go flush with the bottom of the folio. So that might be a little further than the bottom of this striped print. We want to line this up all the way at the bottom. Make sure it is centered left and right. And I'm just going to glue the entire back of this. I'm going to kind of spread that out just a little bit. And use my fingers at the bottom. Lots of glue, probably too much. And just use my fingers to feel that that is properly in place and that it's not hanging out or over anywhere. I'm going to use my bone folder to just slide in there and press that glue down. And now we're going to take this whole folio and put it off to the side to dry. Next, let's come back to our mini books. We need to match our covers up with our inside pages. So we've got the one about flowers and the cover growing magical blooms. Those are together. This is the book about travel. So that goes with the Guide to Fantastic Places, and then the birds goes with magical birds. This should be fairly dry. This is much easier to work with if it's dry. And we're going to go ahead and give those folds on either side of the spine. So it might be a little tough. You've scored it earlier and perhaps even creased it earlier, so that's going to help. We're going to fold and then give it a nice sharp crease. Repeat that for all of the covers. So you should have something that looks like this. Then we're going to grab our inside pages and smoosh them all up so we just have those little wings on the side. With the decorative papers, we've got everything right side up. We've got the title page in the front. And we're going to end up gluing this right inside like so. So I'm going to use my liquid glue. I like being able to move the pages around a little bit. I am going to spread out the glue a little bit with my little spreader tool on this, so it's not too messy, and that the glue kind of goes to the edges of the pages. Again, checking that my pages are right side up. I'm going to press it right into the book. And then I'm going to shift it around a little so that it's centered up. Open it up and press. You don't want to push this too far into the corner. You don't want to like close it all the way up and jam it in, because then your book is going to act a little funky. It's not going to want to stay closed nicely. But there we go. So that's how my little page looks on either side. And you'll want to play with that just a little bit, open and close, kind of find that sweet spot where the pages need to land so that it opens, closes, and moves properly. So don't stress out about it being perfect. It's just a little mini book. It's just for fun. So we're all set. And I'm going to repeat that for the other two. I do want to say, do not glue on the spine area. We want to leave that a little free moving. So my glue is only on those pages. Don't glue the spine. You got to leave a little room for them to move around, expand, fill the space. But there we go. There is my last book. I'm going to put these all off to the side. It's okay if they don't stay closed entirely. When they go in the pocket will keep them closed for you. Let's go ahead and come back to the pieces that we have left, as well as our folio. The front of the folio still gets the sign for the shop. That's just going to go right over our decorative little strap there. So boundless tails, some glue on the back of that. Jumped around a little bit on this one. It's just where I'm at today. A little unorganized. My apologies. All right, so there is that. Going to the inside, I'm just going to go ahead and tuck this receipt in here so it is out of the way. I have a little label here. Clearly, I cannot return home without making a purchase. I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. And that's going to go here. And we have 2 tags that both need to be folded in the middle. 1, 2, and then we're going to glue the backs together. There is 1. And here is the second one. We have a little tab to put over the top of this one with the new releases sign on it. So that little tab is just going to fold in half and go right over the top. Tiny bit of glue. And then just pinch that right over the top. And then we're going to pick a portrait finally for the owner of the store. And I am going with this one here. And that portrait is just going to glue right here on the tag. This tag is going to tuck right up in here into our top tuck. Everything should move well there. And then the other one is going to go right into this bottom pocket. And now we can grab our mini books and start tucking them here into the bottom pocket. They should all fit with a little room to spare. And then the final touch is the Velcro dot. So I'm going to grab, there's a clear and a white. I'm going to stick them together. I think I'm going to put the white all the way up here. And then just fold down. Make sure that try to get this as a right angle. Line everything up and then touch that into place. This should look about like that. So I am going to check this. I see mine is a little cattywampus and I'm not sure what I did there. So I'll check and make sure everything's lined up properly for you. So when you assemble it, it is perfectly centered. But that is it for the Boundless Tales shop folio. Our next stop is a clothing store where everything is the perfect fit. We're going to be creating a cute little button card as well as a flip that moves at the pull of a tab. There are 8 pages in this project. All of them are on cardstock, but you can print the 2 sheets of portraits on paper if you prefer. Backer paper 4, the blue and cream print, needs to be printed on the back of the page with the 2 folio panels and the spine. You will also need to print backer paper 4 on the back of the page with the pull strip and these panels on them. So that floral pattern gets put onto the back of this page as well. If you're not sure which pages are for this project, look for the ones marked Part 5, Seamstress. For supplies, you'll need scissors to cut everything out, a bone folder and your optional scoreboard, liquid glue with a fine point, and your optional glue stick. I've put vintage photo distress ink on the edges of everything, and I'll be using Velcro dots to make the buttons on my button card removable. This is optional step. You can glue those buttons down all the way if you want to. We're going to start off by building our folio. So I'm just going to move all of these things out of the way. And let's start with the spine and these 2 fabric panels. Now, these two fabric panels can go either way. You can decide. We are going to glue the edge of this spine right over the edge of the panel. So you can kind of look at the print and see what you prefer there. The spine has two folds, one on either side of that turquoise blue strip. So I've got mine folded, and then these panels just have the other prints on the reverse side. I'm going to grab my glue and my little spine piece, and let me just fold this and add a little bit of ink here so this is somewhat easier for you to see what's going on. There we go. Because we have this print all over the place. So what's going to happen is we're going to glue these onto the larger tabs, and this can go either direction. You can look at the direction of your print on the inside and decide from there. This print can go either way. I do prefer it up this way with the flower pointing up. We are covering most of this fabric up, so the direction of this does not really matter. We're going to be putting panels right over top of it, so just a bit is going to peek out. So place everything based on your preference for the inside and not the outside. So I've got my center spine, and I'm going to place that glue on one of the large tabs, not in that central spine area. Grab one of my panels with the direction facing the way that I want. And then I'm going to fold up at a 90-degree angle, push the panel right into the crease. I make sure we're lined up at the top and bottom. And then I'm going to repeat that for the other side. Placing my glue on the tab, not the spine. I'm going to flip over, make sure my print is the same direction. 90 degrees, I'm folding that spine up, pressing it in, and then lining up top and bottom. And that will leave you with something that looks like this. And it will fold up like that. Let's open this back up. Make sure you have your print facing the way that you like. And we're going to grab these two panels. One has a bow, one does not. And these panels are not square. They're wider than they are tall. So you'll want to make sure that the width is this way. The longer side is going horizontal. It's not going to fit or look as nice if you go vertically. So one on either side, and I'm just going to glue those all the way down if I can get a hold of it. So glue all the way around those edges. And then I'm going to center this up as best I can. And same thing with the other one with the bow. The bow is on the left-hand panel. The other one is on the right. The bow is on the back. The crisscross is on the front. Now we have our label. That is just going to pop right in the middle on the front. There we go. And we'll smooth that down. We're going to put this to the side to dry, and let's go ahead and grab this floral panel here. This can go either way. And then our flip panel. This flip panel is going to need a fold right along the tab. Then we're going to fold in, meet that crease, fold over all the way, and then fold the middle. Then we're going to glue this larger panel down to make a double-sided flip. Next, we're going to grab our beautiful floral panel, and we're just going to hook our flip right over that on the left-hand side. So I have it horizontal, not vertical. They should line up, be the same width. Hook it over the left-hand side, flip it over, and then I'm going to put some glue on here to glue it down. Next, I'm going to go ahead and grab a portrait as well as this little interior shot of the shop. The shop picture is going to go on the front of this flip. right in the blank area. And then I'm going to flip this open, and our portrait is going to go right here. And you can choose any portrait you like from all of the ones provided. Like so. Next, let's bring our folio back, and we're going to glue this panel in right here on the left-hand side. It's just going to pop right in. So gluing the back of this. I'm going to center this up on the left-hand panel and give that a good smooth. Make sure you're not getting into your spine area there. We need to make sure everything is going to move properly and that it is straight. Since we're already over here, let's go ahead and work on our button card. Before you decide how you want to do your buttons, I do want to note that by using the Velcro dots, I ran into a little problem where this is getting caught underneath of the buttons whenever I go to push it back. So take that into consideration. If you do Velcro for your buttons, you might want to just switch the receipt and the button panel. Of course, you won't have these cute buttons sticking out, but that will preserve the function and you'll still have the receipt sticking out. If you glue these all the way down, they should be fine. It shouldn't catch at all, but I was running into a problem where those buttons were getting caught, and you can see it works fine with those removed. So just keep that in mind when continuing forward with the button portion of this project. So we have the receipt. I'm going to put that off to the side for a moment, and we have all of these buttons. The buttons all have butterflies on the front. There should be 6 of them. There we go. And then there are backs. All the backs are the same. I wasn't going to make you match the backs up with the fronts. And I'm going to glue these back to back, lining them up as best I can. I'm not going to stress over it because I'm actually going to put Velcro dots on these. You can actually skip this step. You do not have to put the backs on if you're just going to glue these straight down to the card. So you can just take them and glue them on the little circles provided to make a little button card. You can still glue them back to back and then glue them on if you want them to be thicker. That's going to add some more dimension. So that's a great way to do that. But I'm going to put a back on the back of each of these. And then I'll be adding Velcro dots to the backs of each of these so that the buttons can actually be taken off the button card and they'll have a lot more dimension and lift. You know, when you get a card full of buttons, and especially ones that have a loop on the back like this do, like these do, like this do. When they have that loop on the back, they kind of bobble around on there, and I wanted to have kind of the same feeling, and I thought it might be fun to make it so that they are removable and you can take them off the button card. So just a cute little extra element. So there we go. We've got all of our little circles done. And I'm going to grab my Velcro dots and I'm just going to start pairing them up. I'm going to do clear on top, white on bottom. So I'm going to stick them together and then stick them in the center of each of these circles on the button card. This button card is going to be vertical. I should have said that from the outset. So if you decide to glue these directly down, then you're going to want the buttons to face this way. They're going to be up and down like so. Let's go ahead and put the rest of these Velcro dots on. And there is the last one. And then you can ink around these if you want to. I'm going to skip that step for now. I can always come back and do that later since mine are removable. And I'm just going to stick these down wherever I want them. And again, I can move them around. I'm going to do them vertically like so. There we go. And then these will come off and then back onto the card. I just thought that was a really fun little addition. So let's come back over. We have our panel here. These are going to glue in like so, right onto our decorative background. So I'm going to do the receipt first. And I'm definitely going to use my liquid glue so I can slide these around if I need to, just to get them lined up exactly the way I want. There we go. And then our flip will just partially cover that. Some of our buttons will still show. I love that. And then you can flip it open and you have the receipt and the buttons. So let's put this to the side to dry again and bring over all the rest of our pieces. And we are going to build our pulling, flipping waterfall piece. So let's start with this panel here and this piece here. This piece is going to have 2 folds, 1, 2, and it is going to wrap around this one. So you're going to want to make sure, do your folds, do your creases, but then wrap it around and give it another crease so that this is lying flat. And then we're going to cover up the brown rectangle on this panel with our little piece here. So we're just going to flip that over to the back. Put some glue on each tab. There we go. And then let's let this dry to the side. I want to make sure this is straight first. All right, now let's go ahead and work on the pull strip. This is the part that makes our flips flip. And this is going to have 4 creases, one between the image with the cloak and this brown panel, this little brown strip. And then between the dark brown and the medium brown, I'm lining up my sides here to make sure everything is nice and straight. We want this to be as square as possible. Now between the medium and the light brown, and finally the light and the very dark brown. And then I'm actually going to fold these the other way as well, just so things will move fairly smoothly. There we go. So all 4 creases. And then I'm going to buff just a little ink on here so you can see where all my creases are while I'm working on this. There we go. So we have this. So I've got my cloak facing up. I'm just going to flip that back. All of my creases are more towards the left. The tab is to the right. And I'm going to grab this panel here and glue it right on the back. So I'm just going to get glue all around the edges. And we're going to line those tabs up. So this is going to make it sturdier as well as give us something to look at once we've pulled the tab. A little bit of writing there about what's in the shop and what Penelope purchased, which is the buttons. Next, we're going to flip back over. And I'm seeing just a little bit peeking out here. So I'm going to grab my scissors. If you cut with a cutting machine, it should be pretty neat. Mine is usually very neat. However, I had to reprint this piece because I forgot to put the backer paper on it. So I'm just going to neaten this up. I cut it out really quickly by hand. And you can always just do a quick little trim on things and then hit those edges with the ink again just to make them look a little nicer. There we go. Much better. All right. So let's flip this way and we're going to attach our little outfit panels to the stripes. This is what's going to make them kind of roll through, flip through. So I'm going to start with the darkest panel. I'm going to use this dress. The order does not matter. But I'm going to put glue on that dark panel and I'm going to be gentle with it. Minimal. I'm going to give it just a little smear and then carefully just staying right on that stripe. I'm going to glue this down. And then you can actually test and see how that works. And that's looking good. Repeat that here for the next one. Again, I'm going to give that just a little smear, make sure the glue stays entirely on that tan strip. And I'm going to put the blouse on here. And then finally, we have the last dress on the light tan strip. Pop that into place. And there we go. That's looking pretty good. Now, this is going to be a little tricky. We have some sewing notions that we're going to add in. And we're going to carefully fold and add these images to the back. Again, you can put them in any order. They're just going to pop onto the backs here. I'm going to do the buttons first. Then I'm going to flip and give that a little crease. And I think I'll do the ribbon. And then flip again. Oops. And do the bolts. I got a little carried away there. Just started gluing willy-nilly. There we go. You wipe that glue off so it doesn't glue it shut. All right. So now we have something on both sides when we flip it through here. So there we go. Isn't that cool? So let's come back to this piece here. And we are just going to slide this right underneath like this. And finally, we're going to glue the back of this cloak to this patterned piece. Now, make sure you don't get glue on the bottom. Make sure you don't spill over. I'm just going to put kind of a swirl of glue right in the middle. I'm going to stay away from the edges, but then I'm going to line up, and you can pull this all the way down to kind of do that. I'm going to line this up with the edge. Let me see if I can show you. Here we go. So the edge of this floral kind of strap is lined up with the edge of our last image in the flip. And that anchors everything into place so that you can flip through all of the pictures. Now that we have this completed, I am going to bring over our folio and we are going to place this flip along with this little descriptive strip along on our background here on the right hand side. So you'll want to play with the positioning. I'm going to try to line up the top of the strip with the top of this background and the bottom of this with the bottom of that. And I'm going to glue this all the way down. And just try to center that up left and right between the spine and the outside edge. And then line up on the bottom. And then I'll just go ahead and glue in our little description. And that should line up with the top of this. And then you can kind of use the pole as a gauge. And there we go. That is it for our seamstress's shop, the perfect fit. Our final stop for Penelope and the grand finale of this kit is the music box shop. We're going to be building a peacock themed music box which holds Penelope's notes about her visit. While I've not added a musical element to this box, there is some empty space within the bottom where some of you more clever crafters could definitely hide some musical components if you like. This project is large with 12 pages. 10 are on cardstock, 2 are on your choice of cardstock or paper. Backer paper 6, which is the gold stripe background, needs to be printed on the back of the page with the folio body on it. The pages with the portraits as well as the pages with the colored strips on them can be printed on paper or cardstock. Either is going to work. You're only going to use one portrait for this project, so think about what you might use the others for when choosing. For supplies, you'll need scissors to cut everything out, your bone folder and optional scoreboard, liquid glue with a fine point, and your optional glue stick. And I've used vintage photo distress ink on the edges of everything. To make the contents of the box easier to take in and out, you might like to use some ribbon or fancy trim to wrap around them. You can also add some fun charms to it if you want to. There is a lot of room for you to play with, so be creative if you like. So there is a lot going on here, and the first thing we need to do is assemble the box. So I'm going to move all the extra pieces out of the way. And we want to keep the teal pieces, the pieces with the peacock patterns on them. Not sure what I had that was glittery that I just saw. And we've got these two pieces here, and everything else can go off to the side. There are some more pieces here for the pop-up mechanisms and all of these things. So I'm going to keep those nearby. And let's start with the bottom of the box. So we're going to need the peacock pattern that is in brown, and then the plain tan piece here. So these are going to be the inside and outside bottom of the box. We can put the musical components away as well. So we're going to start with this tan piece, and we're going to build a box. We've built lots of boxes together. So we've got two short sides. They're going to have tabs here on either side that need folded, tab at the bottom, tab at the top. For these, I like to fold that bottom tab first and then fold the decorative panel over to meet that crease. Make sure everything is laying flat and then crease. You can put a little distress ink on the inside edges of the tabs. It's not as important for this one, especially at the bottom, because you're never going to see it. It's going to be all covered up. So for the short sides, you have all of those folds, and then you're going to glue the decorative panel all the way down to that center panel, like so. And we'll repeat that for the second one here. So tabs in, tab in, fold over to meet this crease, flatten everything out, rub, rub, rub. Distress ink on the inside if you like along those tabs, and then glue the decorative panel down to the center panel. Next, we've got our two longer sides. Those have two folds, one between the tab and the peacock print, and one here between the peacock print and the teal wood. Same thing on the second one. Fold and then fold in. Same thing, nice and flat. Give it a good crease. Let's grab our panel, and we are going to glue those tabs right underneath. So I'm gonna start with just a long side. There's not a right or wrong which one to grab, they're both the same. We're gonna glue on the tab. The tab is the piece with the angled sides, not the straight sides. I'm gonna grab our little tan piece of paper. I'm gonna fold and pull and make sure everything is centered up left to right so that those sides are even, that this goes into the crease, and then I like to fold everything over and give it a good press. And let's repeat that for the second long side. Glue on our tab. Slip that right underneath. Fold. Let's line up left and right. And then fold. Now we'll add our short sides. We've got our big tab here with the angled sides. Center up left and right. Fold. And then flipping one last side. Center and fold. So now we have something that looks like this. Now we're going to make sure that all of our tabs are creased nicely because we're going to need these to be at 90-degree angles to the sides. We're going to stand this up, and just like we did building the box for this kit, we're going to do that little flip over. So we're going to glue one of these panels entirely, the other panel up the sides, tuck in those tabs, up and over, check those corners as always, pinch, 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 and smooth it down. Same thing for the other side. One panel entirely, the other panel up the side. Tuck in those corners and pinch, pinch. Now we're not going to be ready to put our bottom on quite yet because we need to do the lid. And then we'll attach the hinge to both pieces and then we'll put the bottom on. So here's our lid piece. It's going to work very similarly. So we've got a line here. We've got our lid. There's a tab here, you can see. So it's going to be fold here, fold between the carved portion and the teal, fold, 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 fold. And then you'll want to fold those tabs as well. Here's what it looks like from the back. There are some folds along here as well. I inked along here because we are going to put a panel in and you want to make sure you don't have any white edges showing. So once all your folds are done, we're going to take these short edges and we're going to glue our decorative panels down. So I'm just going to glue both of those and fold over. You want to make sure everything is lined up well. Press, press, press. And then similar to what we did on the box base, we are going to fold those tabs. We're going to stand them up. I'm going to actually turn this way and we are going to go glue on here, those sides, and then do our up and over with those tabs. So same concept as what we just did. So we're just going to check those corners nice and tight. I got glue all over my fingers. And pinch, pinch, pinch. And then I'm going to make sure everything is as square as possible. Now this is a 3-sided lid, so it might feel just a little wonky right now because we have to add some more structure to it. All right, next we're going to grab this funky little piece. This is our hinge. So we are going to fold here and here, right between the peacock and the tab area. And then this is going to attach to the lid of our box, like so. So the white is going to be on the inside. Let me grab a little bit of ink so that you can see these creases easier as I'm working on this. There we go. So it doesn't matter which way it goes. The print kind of matches up, but if you go one way or the other, it really isn't going to matter too much. So we are going to glue along one tab. And place this inside of the lid so that it lines up with the crease. So you can see I've folded that. And we want this to butt up right against here. You can even fold it in and do a little nudge nudge with your fingers just to make sure it's right along that edge there. Smooth it down. And then we are going to hide that with this inside panel. So I'm actually going to neaten up my crease here. And let's make sure our inside panel is fitting nicely. That looks pretty good. If you feel like yours is a little tight, you can trim just a little bit off. You can just take your scissors and give it a little fine trim on one side, like so. Just take off a sliver. There, mine actually fits just a little better now. And I'll make a little adjustment on that before sending it out to you. So we are just going to glue this in to cover up all of our white paper and hinges and things. This does not really have a top or bottom. It can go in either way. And then make sure this is still folding up properly. If you place it in right, it should come right up. Now let's grab our box. Sit your lid on. It does not matter which way the box is turned. Just pop that on there. And then we are going to wrap this down and around one of the long sides of the box. And we're going to glue this down. So I'm going to place glue. Like so. And then I'm just going to wrap around and around again. And you want to make sure that you got glue up along this top edge. That's going to make it much neater whenever things open up there at the top. So let this dry well with this in contact. All right, so now we have something that looks like this. It's starting to resemble a box. We're just going to flip that over and grab the brown peacock pattern, and that is going to go on the bottom of the box. Be careful of your lid. You don't want to squish all the bits. I don't want to crush that while I'm putting this into place. I can just do this. It doesn't need to be opened up like that. I'm being silly. All right, so there we go. Just give that a smooth. You can always lift it up and do a little rub from the inside. So we got a great start to our music box. Let's pop that open and we're going to start building the inside. And we're going to start with some supports for this mechanical bottom that's going to go in. So the supports are just plain. They each have 4 folds. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you're going to do that for all of them. You're going to fold 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to make little boxes out of them like this. It doesn't matter what you glue to what, which one's on top, which one's on bottom. You're never going to see them again. So get them all creased, and there's too short, too long. There we go. So there's our too short, and then we've got our too long. There we go. One more. There we go. So these are going to fit right down inside of here along all of the edges. It doesn't matter what's up, what's down. Short ones go on the short sides, long ones go on the long sides. So we're making a little platform there for this panel to sit in on. So I'll pull those all back out. You can go with the darker ones if you like, just to prevent lighter paper showing through. And I'm going to glue the bottom, and then I'm also going to glue the side that's going to touch. And then I'm just going to pop that in. Now this is where if you are a clever crafter and you want to try to add a musical component to your box, there is room in here. And I'm sure you can make some adjustments to this platform area if you need to, or cut something out to access, people to make an access for a button or something, maybe on the back. I know there's some music kits out there that you can install, maybe with like a light sensor. So when you open it, it starts to play. That is up to you. So if you'd like to experiment, you can look into something like that. I'm just going to squeeze this down in here. One more. There we go. So we've got all of these in now. For whatever reason, I glued that one in different than the others. And then I am just going to put glue all around. You might do a little fit check and make sure that this is fitting properly. I'm already kind of committed at this point. If you pop it down in there, you might have to pry it back out with your scissors or something. But here are our mechanics. They go this way. You can see these little like lines at the top, these pieces of metal that go across. That is the top that goes towards the lid. And we are just going to press that into place. So now our music box has some innards. Next, we are going to grab this piece. We're going to need something for our figurine to sit on. So same thing. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 folds. And then you're just going to overlap 2 of those and glue them together. There we go. And then this has teal print on 2 sides. Those are the 2 sides that you want to show, like so. So I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to glue on the tan sides. Just some quick glue. And I'm going to push that all the way into that corner. And that makes us a platform for our music box figurine, the little pop-up to stand on. Next, let's insert this mirror inside of the lid. And you can see there's some peacock feathers here. It's kind of a faint reflection of the back of our peacock. You probably won't be able to see it very much, so don't worry if you get it wrong. But those peacock feathers are going to go towards the bottom. I just wanted like a slight reflection in there. And we are going to grab our glue and just glue this mirror in on the center of the lid. Next, we need our pop-up mechanism. So folding again, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one has, again, just that slight reflection, just to have a little something there. I used distress ink on the back of mine, so it wasn't pure white. Because there are sides to the lid of the box and it's going to be upright, I don't think you'll see inside there much. So that was just me being picky. We're going to glue the brown tab and put this cream tab on top, or the mirrored reflection tab on top rather. Just like so. And then this is going to glue right into the box. I'm actually going to turn it so that our reflection kind of touches. So there we go, like that. A little bit of a continuation of that image. Again, you probably won't see that very much. So decide which way you want to put it. Back, bottom. There's really not a wrong way. If you get it in the other way around, it's no big deal. And then we are going to just glue this in so it stands up. And this is in the center. And then go ahead and give that a close and an open. Hold that up 90 degrees, press it into place again, and just kind of play with it. But there you can see how mine looks. And once you are satisfied with that and your glue has dried fairly well, it should kind of hold your lid open. You can glue your peacock right to our little tab there. So I'm going to put the glue on here. Glue in the peacock. And then give that a little fold. Like so. And now we have this little pop-up peacock music box. That's ready to hold the little description of the shop that Penelope has written. So we're going to put this off to the side to dry. And let's start with our little folio here. So this piece has a few folds on it. There's one in between the blue and the tan panel, and then between the tan panel and the green, and then it has a little spine, just a little spine like that. Here it is on the other side. We've got that print on the other side. I've hit all those edges with ink so you can see what we are working with here. So let's start with this side. First thing I'd like you to do is select a portrait for our music box maker, and I think I'm going to go with this one. We have a lot to choose from for this one. They were kind of tall and skinny, so I tried to give you as many as I could. And I am just going to glue that in on the blue panel. Next, for the green panel, we have a picture of the shop. There we are. So this here, that is going to pop in right there. It's just a little picture of all kinds of wacky music boxes on display. And then let's go ahead and flip this over. And I'm going to grab these colorful strips, and we're going to put those in as a little background decoration on each of these panels. So this is just to add a little bit of color. I didn't like how plain this was in here, but I also didn't want to make you print a big, crazy, colorful page for the background just for this one little backer. So I'm going to center this up in each panel. Little line of glue. And you can put these in any order. It doesn't matter. You can match mine. You can place them however you like. There we go. Green, and then I've got this teal one. Oops. There we go. Now those are in place. Next we have 4 little decorative pieces. There is a list of music songs that you can pick from and the magical effects that they have. We have a little stack of music boxes. We have a description that goes along with the music selections, and then this little receipt from Penelope's purchase of her music box. And I am just going to glue these all right in. Like so. And number 4. Now we have this great little folio. We're going to put this whole thing off to the side to dry before we try to fold it up. And let's go ahead and grab these drawer pieces. There are drawers full of figurines to choose from in the shop, and these are those. And these are them. So we're going to just fold these all in half, and we're going to match up those little tabs, the little drawer pulls, and then we're just going to glue them. So really simple. If you are cutting by hand and you're worried about getting those drawer pieces matched up perfectly, I recommend cutting out the straight bits and then the corners. Match those corners up, glue them together, and then cut out the handle. So you'll use those corners to line up, and then use your scissors to cut out the handle. And that should get you a pretty even, it'll look nice on both sides. It'll be totally matched up. So hopefully that made sense. I don't feel like I explained myself well, even though I've explained it a million times in the past, but so I'm just going to glue these all together, and if something doesn't match up on that handle and you use Distress ink, you can hide it with a little bit of ink. No big deal. All right, so here are our drawer tags. We'll put those off to the side. And we are going to build these drawer pockets. So I'm going to start with this base piece here. And there are 3 different sizes of these panels. We're going to start with the largest one. It has 2 tabs that we are going to fold in. 1, 2. We're going to fold them in, and we are going to glue them directly down on top of this panel. So it's going to be on the top. It's not going to wrap around, just on the top. And we're going to line it up on the left hand side with the left hand edge. So let me show you. I've got my tabs with the glue, and I'm going to line up to the left hand side. There's not really a right or wrong on this one, so you can go either way for that bottom panel. And I'm just going to line that all the way up. And now I'm going to repeat that for the blue panel. We've got 2 tabs, 1, 2. There we go, 1, 2. Lay those down flat. Again, it doesn't matter which direction you put it. And I'm just going to line that up again on the left-hand side, like so. Finally, we have this one with the larger tabs, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to fold 1, 2, 3. But this time, we're going to lay it on top, and we're going to let those wrap all the way around to the back. This is thick, so there will be some curving here. It won't be as sharp of a corner, but it's going to kind of finish off the edge a little bit on this. And then I'm going to start with this back piece here. I'll put some glue. And you want to make sure that this is all the way snugged up on that left-hand side. And then I'll put some glue here and here and fold those over. So now we have something that looks like this. I'm going to flip it over so that my tabs are on the left, and we're going to put this backer on like so. Now, if you're worried about a little bit of white showing, you can grab your ink and just I'm kind of running out of ink on mine, but you get the idea. You can ink over some of that white paper before gluing this panel on. And that will hide anything that's peeking through. And you want to try to glue this all the way to the edge if possible. And there's our description of the shelves, cabinet, and I am being very messy. So I'm going to line up on the right here because we have brown underneath on the left. And then I'm just going to flip this over, and we have a sign that says lifelike figurines. That is going to go right on top. And then once this is totally dry, we can grab our figurine tags, and those are going to slide right in here. So let's start with the biggest one first. You might need to grab your bone folder and open this up a little bit to make it easier to slide them in. And they're going to be a little bit of a snugger fit, but I didn't want them falling out. There we go. I think there was a little bit of glue there. There. If you are unhappy with the fit and they just feel like they're a little too tight, then you can trim a little bit off the sides. I'll just show you really quickly. But you can do that little kind of shave off on the sides. It won't hurt anything, just to take a little off, and then I like to put a little ink on. So you can do that on one side or both, just a little bit, if you feel like it's a little too tight. But there is our cabinet, and I've got it kind of set up so you can flip it like that. So Hopefully that doesn't bother you the way I did it. If you really hate it, you can maybe peel this off and turn it around, but to me it made sense at the time. And then this will fit right down in here. And we're going to grab our folio. This is going to fold up left and right, fold in. I'm going to give that a fresh crease. And then it's going to fold in again. So we have this cute little folio that's going to go here. And if you like and you find this is hard to pull everything out, you can put these together, grab a little bit of string or something like that, and put it around and tie it so that you can use the string to pull this in and out of the box. So that is just a recommendation if you're having trouble getting hold of the things that are in the box. And finally, I'm going to close this. It should close nicely. It should hold itself shut pretty well. And we're going to add a label to the top with the name of the shop, the Melodic Gear, right on the top of the box. There we go. And that is it for our final project for Penelope's Travels Volume 1. If you'd like to stay up to date on all of my latest projects, then give this channel a like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this project, then be sure to check out my Etsy shop for more projects like this one. Frostbound Forest tells the story from the point of view of a researcher in a magical forest. When snow begins to fall in the late summer months, our main character heads out into the forest to investigate the cause. You get to follow along and see what they find on their snowy woodland adventure. Cursed Antiquities and the Umbral Society are a two-part investigation series told by Agent Hale of the Bureau of Esoteric Affairs. You assemble the case files and find out what is happening in a 1920s town with a touch of magic. Cursed Antiquities has 14 different projects with tons of storytelling, and the Umbral Society has a little twist with junk journal pages inside of the file folders and our villain's point of view hidden under a secret bottom in the box. Brightwand Academy and Willow of Whispers are a magic school theme. Explore the school in the Brightwand Academy box set. You can check out the classes and decide what the faculty and students look like. Then build a story in Willow of Whispers where we follow 3 friends who are noticing that something strange is happening on the school campus. And finally, explore a flying steampunk marketplace in Gilded Gear Marketplace. This box kit holds folios depicting 3 different shops as well as a cast of characters. Mix and match character backgrounds and portraits and store them in the included cases. Then check out Steam and Satin, a story junk journal kit about the marketplace's tailor shop. A missing shipment of supplies before an important event has Master Tailor Nathaniel Alden looking for answers. I hope today's project added a touch of magic to your life and that you'll craft with me again soon.